Hello, good morning, even though it is a little bit late in the morning, but anyway, welcome back to River Valley Farm. I was kind of lazy. Today, we're going to begin, anyway, covering some of what I've done or am having to do to this New Holland 258 hay rake. I covered on a previous video, it was just kind of a update anyway, about the bar bearings being bad on this thing. Some of them were in fact bad, some of them were just the nut here was loose. We ran into a problem here with the ground drive. There's a little dog that goes in here, spring loaded, and it was broke, so we had to order one of those. And then over here, this bolt, or it's supposed to be a pin technically, was missing. The bearings here were loose on both sides. We had to tighten those up. Yeah, it's been interesting to say the least, but anyway, as I said, this was missing, and that drive, the dog and that drive were broke, but the hay rake would still work. And after 10 years in the desert, allergies are a bitch. But anyway, so now we got ordered parts online. They came from Essex. I was missing one of these bolts or bearing shafts or whatever you want to call this thing. So this is a little bit different. The new style is a little bit different, but it is still a greasable bearing, which I'm happy with. The old ones had get back around here. The old style took two little roller bearings and two races to keep it all in there tight, and a snap ring to hold it. This new one is just this one ball bearing set up. So we got to get the old races out, drive this in, and then we can start putting this back together. Now, one thing that I've had a significant amount of trouble with is getting these bars back in once you take them out. So if anybody has any great suggestions of that, I will show you how I've been doing it. But basically they are kind of a matched fit. You can't put them in end for end different, even though it's the same length and all that good stuff. It doesn't work, that I've found. And you've got to have all the bars loose. And I even actually took this spider off, or unbolted it. Took 3 of the bolts out of this spider here to give me a little bit more wiggle room. So I don't know how much that's going to affect me being able to, I don't even know if I'm going to be able to put that back together with all the bars in it or not, but we'll find out today. So let me get started here, get set up, and we'll see what we can do. Okay, step 1 of our process is to remove this, there's a snap ring in here. I can get a hold of it. And yes, I know I'm using needle nose pliers for a snap ring. That's because I already broke my snap ring pliers on this particular task the other day, and I haven't replaced them yet. And One thing about snap ring pliers, they are very breakable and unreliable. Just a fact of life. Let's see here. Punch. This race is pushed out against the snap ring, so we got to get it free before we can do anything else. That should work. I was going to try to save this, but well, hey, it came out without getting messed up, so we can reuse it if we need to. Next step, of course, is getting the races out, which luckily for me, this unit is old enough that it actually has grease fittings in the rod ends and the bar ends, so we can take that out, stick a punch in there and drive the races out. Let me get a wrench. See if my punch is going to work or not. It should. We're getting there. Getting there, getting there, getting there. Let's see. Only problem is now is I need a different punch. And I know this is not a punch, but it'll have to do. It's the only thing I got that'll fit down in here that's long enough to do me any good. So. And it may not do me any good because it's not heavy enough. Let me see here. Yeah. That's just not going to work. Well, okay, it would appear that I really need to restock my punches and chisels and stuff. But anyway, let me see what I can do about getting this thing out, and I'll get back to you in a minute. Alright, so after a little bit of convincing, we can take a heel bar, as such, and hammer, and just kind of work this race back and forth, and it'll eventually come out. Like so. But anyway, I bought this rake from a fellow mechanic, though I didn't know the guy, and you know, apparently he is a first-rate mechanic, but not much for maintenance, because this poor old rake hasn't seen grease in a long, long time. And to me, that's, you know, like the single most important thing you can do for anything is keep it lubricated. But that's me. You know, I don't know everything. I hope that'll fit in there. It does not appear that it wants to fit. And that is not good. Let's see here. So what we may end up having to do is see if this will come apart. And then also see one of these bearings. And yeah, that bearing does fit, so what we're probably going to end up having to do is go back to the old method here, if we can, which is going to be troublesome, but if we can, and it looks like we'd be able to, because that race will, yeah, we should be able to do that. Okay. Now, when in doubt, the big dead blow hammer is your best friend. Of course, other than when it won't do what it needs to do. So, we will have to try and do it a different way. These have Allen heads in the center of them, so kind of important that you don't screw that up. So we're just going to have to take a smaller punch than I'd really like to use and stick it down through here. And there's that. So there's the nifty seal and the half-sealed bearing that was on that piece. So then we'll take a new old style bearing and hopefully it'll fit down over this. I kind of made this like a wheel stud on this one. We may very well have to grind that off. That's not going to be fun. See what we got here. If it'll fit or not. And it's very important to make sure that you are on the inner race of the bearing, what you're setting it on in this instance, rather than the cage that holds the rollers, because you'll peel it right off. Yep, okay then, so we're going to have to Well, it's stuck on there now. Probably shouldn't be too bad though. Alright, so I gotta go grind this down to make this where it'll fit. So I'm gonna have to go use the bench grinder. I'll be back. Okay, so after my trip to the grinder, I'm still a little high on this. Not more than probably a couple thousandths of an inch, but it's enough to keep the bearing from going on. So we're going to clamp this up in a vise and use a file that I bought at the auction the other day to kind of lay this thing a little bit better. Now again, it doesn't need much, but it needs some work, so we're gonna do it up with a file. As you can see, this is going to take a minute, so I'll get back with you when I'm done. Okay, so I ended up giving it up and going back over to the bench grinder because the file was going to take all day, and I have an old but still good bearing on here because in process of trying to fit a new bearing on here. Bad things happened. So my motto is don't throw anything away until you're absolutely sure you're done with it. Well, that's not the smoothest sounding thing in the world down in there. It's going to be running in grease. I believe in grease wholeheartedly, so it'll be okay. And it's not like the thing's going to be turning 100 miles an hour or anything like that either. So again, it'll be okay. Now, next step of the process here is to put a new bearing on here, which it very just politely just sits down on there because I ground a little bit too much off of it now. But anyway, there's that, and then a new race as such here. Put that in the right spot again. Okay. Go ahead and put this grease fitting back in. I do have new snappers. Let me grab one. Of course, the new ones are a bit more springy than the old ones, and they may not even fit. I don't think the new ones are going to fit. Imagine that. Anyway, so yeah, New Holland, while they still build parts for these rakes, they're not exactly right. Of course, this one is, well, to be fair, it's probably older than dirt. But anyway, it's there. Now, see if we can get it to turn. Alright, so, as you can see there, I greased the bearings, and I've got an Allen socket stuck in the hole. So let's see if it'll work or not. It's a little stiff, but I think it'll be okay. A little more grease never hurt anything, though. Just to make sure we have a really good pack of grease on it. There's a definite tight spot in there, don't get me wrong, but again, this thing is not going to be going that fast. It's not that hard of a load on it, so I'm under the impression that it will be okay. But again, that's my impression. We may find out otherwise. Anyway, I'm probably already like 17 minutes into this, so I think I'm going to have to cut this one short and see if I can't get this bar put in, and then we'll go back and cover the hub later. Alright then, guys. I'll be back. Thanks for watching. Please comment, rate, and subscribe for more.